Hello, beautiful women, and welcome to day 109 of 365 days of Facebook Lives. So, today's a big subject. I'm going to get really straight into it. I don't have a lot of time. I have a client coming up soon in about 40 minutes, and I don't know how long this conversation is going to take. And I don't want to feel rushed. But this is a powerful conversation, a serious conversation, and very deep conversation. And I'm going to try to make it as light as possible and make it as simple as possible. I'm going to share with you what has helped me and what has helped my clients at reconciling their relationship with God and re-establishing this relationship with God and creating a trust with God that, you know, maybe you had before and then want to return to that, or maybe you never had that and you've always been in this disbelief of God or at war with God or feeling abandoned, betrayed, rejected by God or any form of these types of things. So this is a really big subject. I'm a little nervous to talk about it for reals, but this is why we're here. We're here to have this conversation. So feel free to comment as I'm sharing this with you, as what is landing with you, what is not landing with you, what feels really resonant, what doesn't, or if you have any questions along the way as well, as I would love to make this a conversation. If you're watching the replay, let me know, put hashtag replay, or just like say something, say hello, say whatever. I would love to have this conversation and have this like open dialogue about it, because this is a big topic and I would love to see where you are with this, see if this helped you. And don't keep messing with my hair. I did my hair in the sleepy tie. And I was gonna go on with it on, and I was like, no one's gonna take you seriously just talking about God and having this huge bun on your head. So let's take this off. So I kind of just took it off now. So how does it look? Whew. Okay. I'm gonna try to talk slow. So I'm gonna talk about what created your own disconnect with God and how to move back towards that. Basically, it's the two things that I'm going to talk about. And the first thing that I want to mention that feels very important, if I talk a lot with my eyes closed today, is because it helps me to really listen to myself, really listen to the guidance that's coming in or whatever is coming through. Having my eyes open can get a little distracting for me, as my eyes tend to focus on everything, versus when I have my eyes closed, I can really focus internal. So the first thing I want to make as a very important component to this conversation is that we are never disconnected from God or source. We are only farther removed from him. I'm going to make God masculine because in my experience, when we talk about God, it's more of the masculine figure. When I'm going to talk about the goddess, the female God, the woman God, I talk about mother creatrix. So God being this masculine figure, we have never been disconnected from God. We always have that connection. We are either just further removed from it or closer connected to it. So our relationship with God is, first of all, that it is a relationship. It's between two entities, two energies having a relationship together. So when you're in a relationship, you're either very close to that person, you have a lot to talk about, you have a lot to share, you call them, you call for advice, you have experiences together, you laugh together, you cry together, all of those things, right? In a very close, tight relationship. And with someone that you don't have a really good relationship with, you obviously create that distance. But that connection is always there, ready and available for you. You can always call a friend, right? Always call someone, unless that, right? So it's very much like that. But okay, so not but, and what normally happens is something in our lives causes us to create a feeling that God is not there for us. Something usually happens. We have a falling out with God. We have a falling out with God, and we're just like, where are you? Like, why aren't you here with me? I did all the things you wanted me to do. I prayed to you. I did all this. Like, where are you? Where are you? Right? And then we start to feel like God has abandoned us. God has rejected us. God is not answering our prayers. And we're just like talking to this endless void type of thing. Then we start to feel experiences in our lives that create even more disbelief or more not having faith in something outside of us, right? Of this higher power. Things and circumstances start to happen in our world. So this feeling of the one person or the one energy that is supposed to be here with me this entire time is not there. I don't believe anymore. I don't believe, I don't have faith. So this is like the beginning of where we start to say, God can't help me. This is human shit. God can't help me. This is something that I need to solve by myself. God's not there for me. He's not showing up for me. He's not there for me. I need to figure this out by myself. So when that happens, in the way of that exact form, it is now relying on your own ego and on your own will, which you can still create in that, but usually what we create is a lot of pain and suffering. So eventually you have a fall to your knees moment. Eventually you keep going, you disown God, you try to figure it out on yourself, you forget about all your spiritual practices, and you just focus on you. Maybe you try to focus on some manifestation, but basically in the thing of God and spirit and all that, you're kind of just like, forget it, and then you have a fall to your knees moment. That fall to your knees moment is where it's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't continue to live my life like this anymore. And there is this drop to your knees moment where there is like this surrendering energy of like, okay, show me another way. Show me another way, because I cannot do this anymore. If there is a God out there, show me another way, because I cannot do this anymore. And in that moment, you have met God halfway. Because God will only respond to you in a way that you meet him halfway. He's not going to do the thing for you. If you're in a marriage, if you're in a relationship that isn't good, and you're praying to God that this man changes, you're praying to God that your circumstances changes, and you're praying and you're praying and you're praying and you're not receiving your answer, well, it's because you're not meeting him halfway. And what I mean by that is that you want God to snap his fingers and for everything around you to change without you doing the inner work. That's not how it works. It's like if you were giving your child every single thing, every single time he asks for it, you give it to him, you give it to him. You're not helping him develop as a human being. You're actually creating a spoiled brat. Truth. And I know that because I was one of that. I was a spoiled brat because I was always given what I asked for. Actually, as a matter of fact, I demanded it. Spoiled, because my parents just gave me everything. And if they didn't give me what I want, girl, all hell will break loose. This is why this is how it is with God. You can't just say, I want this, and then he's going to do this and everything changes. You have to develop yourself as a human being so that you're not creating the same circumstances, because you are always co-creating with God. or with your ego. So, or with your shadow. I like shadow better. So he wants you to develop your character, right? He wants you to develop your character in whatever way that means specifically for you. And the thing is that you know exactly what you need to do, because God wants you to trust in you as much as you trust in him, or as much as you're having faith in him. He wants you to have faith in you. It's like this like infinity loop between the both of you. Boom, 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 right? So the way that you grow is through challenge and love, challenge and love, challenge and love, challenge being the masculine energy, love being the feminine energy, challenge and love. And then within these two are so many different categories: courage, communication, leadership, commanding energy, focused attention, right? And then with love, we have surrender, we have compassion, we have unconditional love, we have desire, we have peace, right? We have all of these different things. Well, we have all different emotions under the feminine, but well, I guess there's still more to it, but you get what I'm saying, right? The way that the masculine grows through the masculine energy within both feminine and masculine is through challenge. The way that feminine grows is through both men and women, is through love. And this is what we want to do. But we forget about that and think that he's supposed to give us everything we want. Therefore, if he doesn't, he has abandoned us, he has betrayed us, he has forgot about us, he has rejected us, or he's punished us. And God is not that. God is not punished. God has already forgiven you before you even made a mistake. Really, you're asking for your own forgiveness, not for God's forgiveness. So we got to meet God halfway whenever we're asking for something. Whenever we're asking for something, and there's this moment of meiosis, is it? Amnesia, where we forget that this is what we need to do, that we need to meet God halfway. Because if there's something that we're praying for, it means that there's something that we desire. There's a change that we need to make. And we had to cultivate that change within us, make a move forward so that God can meet us in the other direction. You'll start feeling that reflection either way. So how do you reconcile, right, this with God? How do you start that? Well, number one is by taking radical responsibility of your own life. I remember the first time that I remember just really feeling abandoned by God, right? Like I had found a way to create a relationship with God, with the Holy Spirit, and with all of those energies, and also introducing new energies and new things into my life. Like I've always loved spirituality. I just was never behind the church. So the Course in Miracles was the first thing that I finally found that really spoke to my heart from a fall to my knees moment. Because I had a feeling that there was something else out there, but I just didn't really believe in the way that the church was sharing. So I found the Course in Miracles after this drop to my knee moment where I said, God, I can't continue to live like this. Show me another way. Boom, he comes in. He emails received to me with this blast email of this book called A Course in Weight Loss, 21 Spiritual Lessons to Release Your Weight Forever. And that was my first introduction to my spiritual building, my first awakening. So time goes by. And my other awakenings were more about really connecting with my higher self. And then I felt really deeply connected with God. I felt really this deep connection with the universe, really. I didn't even use God at the time. I was using more like universe and source because I still couldn't use that word, God. So I leave the fiance. I decide I'm leaving corporate. I'm going forward with creating my own business. I start to get this feeling of spirituality. I'm like, I'm craving spirituality. It was just like this craving, you know, when you're craving like chocolate or ice cream or pizza or French fries or something. It was like that. It was a craving. Like I'm craving. Spirituality. Kind of came through, but I kind of left it because I was really focused on this new work thing that I was going out to, that I was adventuring off to. And somewhere, the first month I did great. 10K the first month. Amazing. I blew my own socks off. I was like, holy shit. And then after that was just like fall flat on my face, fall flat on my face, fall flat on my face. And I remember feeling so abandoned by God. And I was like, what else do you want from me? I was like, I did everything. I left the fiance. I went and started my own career. I've healed my relationship with food in my body. I was like, what else do you want? Why aren't you sending me the clients? That was the first time. And that was the first time that I said, you know what? This money shit is human. This is human. This is not spiritual. Like, God's not gonna be able to help me. So from 2017 to about 2020, I went through 3 years of trying to figure it out myself because God wasn't there. Every year digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper into darkness, because I'm basically hustle. Then in 2020, of April of 2020, I fell on my knees and said, okay, God, there has to be another way, because I started to journal, and I remember feeling very conflicting feelings like I did with my ex. I had a business partner, and it was very similar, not necessarily in the way that he was treating me, but more of my own mind and the way that I felt very conflicting. I want to get out of this, but no, maybe I shouldn't, right? Type of thing. And I was like, you know what? I was like, the last time that my life was going really good, I was really into spirituality. I was really on this really great path. So I met God halfway. I fell down on my knees. Like, show me another way. I started to meditate. I started to listen. And then amazing people started coming into my world. Amazing mentors that were all about God, that were all about spirituality. I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. And little by little, I started to have more faith and more trust in God as I took more and more radical responsibility on myself. Started to explore different ways, things that were presented to me because of what I was wanting to create with God and create with the universe and create in my life. Taking programs and courses that were all about reconnecting with my body, that were all about women who had some kind of spiritual je ne sais quoi that you could feel in what they were sharing and what they were speaking about. Now, the last piece, and the one thing that I'll mention in here too, is that one of my core wounds that I have is abandonment, because this was a wound that was created when I was 6 years old. So with my fiance, the reason I stayed with him for so long is because he activated that core wound, and I didn't want to feel abandoned again. So I would bend over backwards to feel worthy enough to not be abandoned. Then I felt abandoned by God, because why wasn't he there when I needed him the most? I felt like the rug got pulled out from under me, which is what it feels like for me, at least in my abandonment wound, because my mother just disappeared out of my life for 2 years. Because she got deported back to Colombia. She volunteered, but she didn't say goodbye. So to me, it felt like the rug was swept out from under me. So as I'm starting to build this trust again in faith in God, in the universe, and my connection and connecting with my spirit guides and doing all these things, getting to feminine practices, there was still that fear of like, I feel like God could just abandon me at any moment. And then I had to remember that I needed to take radical responsibility, because if I was really honest, right, that this was the story that I had for so long, that I was so scared to have more money because it would all of a sudden be gone, because that was also a pattern that I had. I would have a lot of money, I would lose a lot of money. I would have a lot of money, I would lose a lot of money. And I feared. And I always blamed it on, well, God's gonna just take it from me. Then I had to take radical responsibility of, I did not plan properly. I was very naive. I did not have a strategy. And as a 3-6, now that I know, I'm the kind of person that just jumps and will figure out what's happening on the way down. Woo! And God sent me Ron. When I realized that, holy shit, pointed out by my mentor. This is why mentors are so amazing. She's like, because I was sharing her with my fear. She's like, well, it sounds like God had your back because he sent Ron. Very matter of fact. I think you're right. I think you're right. I think you're right. Because he has been my rock. And moving up with him, he's always had the divine masculine codes. And when me and my ex-fiance broke up, Florida was pushing me out. It was like, get the fuck out of here, girl. We don't need your energy here anymore. Go up north. You're going to go through another death and rebirth portal for 4 years. And then you're going to come back a brand new woman. And that's exactly what happened. That Florida was pushing me out was God saying, you need to go. Ron coming into my life was God saying, I got your back. Here's all this work. Here's this beautiful, gorgeous man. You guys are ready. Boom, sent from heaven is what it felt like. And Ron always says, it's like, you make it sound like when you say you manifested me. Oh, 444. When you manifested me, that I just like poof, came out of the earth out of nowhere as if I didn't have a life before. I'm like, no, that's not what it means. But I get what you're saying. But it's more like God make the magic happen. The universe, Mother Creatrix, everything, my spirit guides, his spirit guides, all of it. Earth reconfigured to bring us together. It's like, ooh, that's right. He never abandoned me. He was always there for me. And the thing is that you always are available to connect with him and to receive his guidance if you're willing to just listen. The thing with me is that I didn't want to listen because I was such in scarcity that I could not quiet the noise. Instead of researching, how can I quiet the thoughts in my mind so I can listen to God, which I don't know what I would have found, or if I would have asked my mentor at the time that I was in money scarcity, she could have helped me, but I was so embarrassed that I didn't want to tell her. I didn't want to tell her. My ego and my pride got in the way. My ego and my pride got in the way because I thought I needed to have it figured out as a brand new businesswoman. Nobody in my family was an entrepreneur, so nobody in my family could really understand that and mentor me into that. So it was like walking blindly into this. But if I made myself available, the answers would have came to me. The right mentors would have been presented to me. All of the right things would have been presented. I would have been creating more from the light of God versus through my shadow. Now, I'm not saying that everything that I was creating was shadow, because Ron came into my world. I was, I had some really awesome clients, and then I did end up hiring another, some mentors and So, reconciling with God is number one, something that you have to practice actively, and it starts with trusting yourself. As I said in my video yesterday, you have to start trusting yourself. You're listening to your own intuition, listening to your own discernment, and listening to the messages that are being received to you from the outside, that are messages from God sending to you. Listening to your own desires. Your desires are not wrong. Your desires, some will say, that there are seeds from God planted inside of you because they are meant for you to be flourished. Your desires are not just a thing that you want. A desire is like a yearning for something, a calling for something. Are you listening? Are you listening? So when you start to trust this within you, you are building this trust within you, and then life reflects that back to you because you're meeting God halfway, and then you can start to build that trust. But if you don't have this trust within you, and this is where I do most of my work with my clients, returning to you, because when you do that, you're in highest connection with your highest self, and then everything else can start building. Then you start to hear messages. Then you start to feel like you're being guided. Then you start to ask. then you start to like, wow, God is here. And then you start to feel the core fear, like what I had. I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared to make a lot of money because it's going to all go away. And it's not. Because God is here with you, and you have to meet him halfway. You have to do the human stuff. You have to listen to what's on your heart and not ignore it and not betray it. I got 2 more minutes. When you start doing that, you building that trust within you, and then you're going to start being presented with ways that you can regulate yourself to build more of that connection with Source, with God. I feel like there's something else I want to add here, but I feel like I'm on a time crunch. Part of this is also going through your own dark night of the soul of going down into the underworld to be rebirthed again into the light, as I had to go so many times too. Even on this journey, even when I started to reconcile with God, go down into the depths, like what else do you want from me? I had to do that a few times until I really had to, when I came back up into the light, I realized it's like, wow, I realized, number one, there was more love that I needed to give to myself. And then I realized, because I came out and back into the light, I'm still with God, and God is still here with me. God is always here with me, with you as well. God is always there with you all the time. And then when I go back into light, being penetrated by the truth, there's clarity. There's, oh yeah, this is what I need to do. Especially as women. So, I feel like there is something more, but there's Alexa coming up. Alexa, stop. I have a client in 10 minutes. So that's a lot. There's still more I want to say, but take that in and let me know how that feels. Let me know how that resonates. Let me know what questions you have. I would love to answer them, because I know there's something else I want to say, but I don't have time. And I could make another video obviously of that. So I hope you have a beautiful night. I'm going to go to a dog tea party. It's my cousin's dog's birthdays, and she's throwing a tea party. Pawty, Pawty. And I'm going there after my client. So hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.